Have you ever been swept off your feet only to wake up weeks later wondering, was any of that even real? The sweet text, the deep eye contact, the I've never felt this way before on the first or second date. He's saying all the right things, making big promises, maybe even dropping hints about moving in. And suddenly, you're caught between two voices. One says, this could be real, and the other one whispers, am I ignoring red flags? So let me ask you something. Is this love, or are you just being love bombed? Because today, relationships are marketed like luxury goods. Men equal money, women equal trophy. And we're fed a fantasy where fast means forever and luxury means loyalty. But we all know that it's not true because real love doesn't rush. It doesn't need to impress you. It learns you. It doesn't overwhelm, it grounds. Love isn't proven by how fast someone moves. It's revealed by how they stay. So if you're questioning what's real, you're not crazy. You're waking up. And in this video, we're talking about what love really looks like when the pink glasses come off. So let's start with this. When you're first falling for someone, your brain is flooded with chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. All the feel-good hormones are working overtime. Like you're literally high on hope. And in that state, your judgment shifts. You're not seeing clearly because, not because you're naive, but because you're human. And you start to idealize them. You focus on the potential instead of patterns. You overlook the subtle red flags and the way they dismiss your boundaries, the inconsistencies, the moments where something feels off. And because you're craving connection, your mind fills in the blanks with fantasy. Psychologists call this infatuation bias, also known as the pink sunglasses effect. Everything they do feels magical, right? You think, wow, we're so aligned. But what's actually happening is you're projecting your hopes, your desires, and sometimes even your unhealed wounds onto them. You're not seeing the full person. You're seeing your favorite version of them. And here's the part that nobody talks about is the pink tint always fades. Those sunglasses, they're not always going to be pink. It might take weeks, it might take months, but eventually you'll start to notice the things you couldn't or wouldn't see before. Maybe they don't communicate as openly as you thought. Maybe they're great at making promises, but not so great at following through. And sometimes that person really is kind, is caring, and interested in you, but not ready for a real relationship, or at least not aligned with the kind of life you're building. But by the time you realize this, you may have already started making life-altering decisions while still under the spell, like moving in together, becoming emotionally or financially dependent, expecting a long-term commitment from someone you're still getting to know. And look, I get it. I really understand when you feel deeply connected to someone, you want to believe it's real. You want to trust the chemistry. But chemistry is not compatibility, and attraction is not enough to build a future. What you're experiencing in those first few weeks or months, the butterflies, the obsession, the late night texting marathons, those are normal, but they're also temporary. that phase isn't where love lives, it's where curiosity lives, where possibility lives. And it's beautiful as long as you stay aware of what it is. So, yes, wear the pink sunglasses, enjoy the ride, but know when to take them off and really see the person standing in front of you, because that's where real love begins. Not in the fantasy, but in clarity, in the patience, in the truth. Now, let's talk about this so called princess treatment. Look, there's nothing wrong with being cherished, being loved well, with intention, care, thoughtfulness. That's beautiful. Like, you deserve to be chosen, to be valued, to be treated with kindness, presence, and consistency. But let's be honest, there's a big difference between being cherished and being love bombed. Being love bombed means you're being overwhelmed with affection, gifts, grand gestures, fast intimacy, and big promises all at once. And at first, it can feel amazing. You think, wow, like they must really like me, they're really into me, they're serious, they're intense, this is what I've been waiting for. But pause. Just because it's intense doesn't mean it's intentional. And remember this, just because it's intense doesn't mean it's intentional. Sometimes love bombing is just infatuation on steroids. Sometimes it's performance. And yes, sometimes it's a subtle form of control. The more swept up you get, the easier it becomes to miss the signs. The pressure builds, move in fast, rely on them, trust your promises, and adjust your life before you even fully know them. And now, influencers are pushing a version of this too, wrapped in filter luxury and catchy sound bites like, if he's not paying your rent by month 3, he's not serious. If he doesn't give you a ring in a year, leave him. You deserve princess treatment no matter what. But let's pause and ask, is this about love or is it about lifestyle? Because when someone you barely know starts making major financial and emotional moves for you, like paying your bills, covering the apartment, taking full responsibility, you've got to ask, would you do that for them? Imagine this. You've been dating someone for 2 or 3 months. You make more money than they do. Would you pay their rent? Will you cover their groceries? Fund their lifestyle? Would you do that because you love them or because you feel obligated to prove something? And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of power also. And if you wouldn't expect yourself to take on that level of financial and emotional responsibility so early in a relationship, why are you shaming men or anyone for not doing it either? Most people in their 20s, they're just starting out. They're figuring out like who they are. They're trying to pay off loans, build careers, find purpose, and then suddenly they're expected to fund someone else's lifestyle and like be responsible of their emotions like after a few weeks of dating, or else they're not serious. And let's call this what it is: unrealistic and unsustainable. And this applies if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, at any age actually. And I say that with love, with affection, like I care, like I get it. We want the fantasy is strong. Like we've been taught that fast money, fast commitment, and fast milestones means we are finally safe in love. But safety doesn't come from someone covering your bills. It comes from emotional consistency, clear communication, and shared values over time. So if someone isn't proposing in a year, if they're not offering to pay for everything, that doesn't mean they're not committed. It might just mean they're thinking clearly. Love isn't about proving worth through money. It's about showing up emotionally, honestly, and consistently. And that doesn't always come in the form of princess treatment. Sometimes real love looks like mutual effort, like two people building a future, not buying one. So next time you feel tempted to compare your relationship to someone's online highlight reel, ask yourself, do I want real connection or curated validation? Because one of those will sustain you and the other one will leave you empty, even when the bills are paid. Real relationships, they're partnerships. That means both people show up, both grow, both evolve together. Love isn't a transaction. It's not about who gives more, who pays more, or who performs better. It's about building something that lasts, bit by bit. And yet, on social media, we're fed a fantasy, a curated version of love where everything looks perfect. Exotic vacations after 2 weeks, luxury apartments paid for by one person, engagements after 3 months, right? But here's the truth that influencers rarely talk about. Real life has rent, and real love has seasons. And financial dynamics should reflect your reality, not Instagram's algorithm or TikToks or whatever social media you're using. If you've been dating someone for 2 months and you're already talking about moving in together or even expecting them to cover all the bills, pause. Please pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because it feels truly aligned or because it feels like the next checkbox to tick off? Sometimes we chase the next step so quickly that we forget to ask, are we even ready? Are you moving in together because your connection is strong, it's stable, it's mature, or because your nervous system is craving certainty and you think the milestone will make you feel more secure? And that's not judgment, and that's compassion. Because I get it, like we all want to feel safe. We want the fairy tale. We believe if we just get to that next stage, move in, get the ring, start a life, then everything will finally click. But the truth is, rushing milestones doesn't create love. It doesn't build trust. It doesn't resolve doubts. And it definitely doesn't guarantee a future. What it does do far too often is lead to resentment. You wake up months later realizing you're living with someone you barely know, expecting or even demanding them to be responsible for all the finances or your emotional states, because that is what we hear lately about princess treatment. And in some cases, splitting finances, but you never fully talked about and feeling emotionally disconnected because the foundation wasn't ready yet. And suddenly you're stuck. Maybe financially, maybe emotionally, maybe both. And heartbreak hits harder when it's not just your heart on the line, but your lease, your savings, your stability. Whether we like it or not, money is important and it's part of having stability, the same as our emotions. Like we need money to eat, to pay rent, to transportation, phones, and we also need emotional stability to be able to be functional. So I want you to hear this, that there is no shame in taking your time. No shame in asking hard questions before you say yes to big steps. And please ask those hard questions. That's not fear, that's emotional maturity. Because real love isn't a highlight reel. And I want you to remember this too. It's not about pace, it's about presence. And the relationships that go the distance, they aren't rushed. They are built with intention, with patience, and with two people who are willing to grow through every season, not just the Instagram worthy ones or TikTok worthy ones, right? Let's go a little deeper here, because this part, it's where so many of us silently struggle. Why do we rush love? Why do we move in with someone we barely know? Like, why do we ignore the red flags we feel but don't want to admit? Why do we confuse gifts with commitment? The truth is, it's usually not about them, it's about you. About that little voice inside that says, if I don't log this in now, I might lose it. Maybe it's fear of abandonment. Maybe it's that old wound from someone who left you hanging, or childhood wound. Maybe it's the anxiety that whispers, you're running out of time. And so we rush. We cling to the next step, the move in, the label, the ring, thinking it will give us peace, like the peace we're craving. However, milestones don't create security. You can move in with someone and still feel alone. You can wear a ring and still feel unsure. Because if you don't feel emotionally safe in the relationship, if you don't feel seen, heard, and valued on a deep level, no title, no gift, no timeline will fix that. Security isn't something you chase. It's something you cultivate. And it takes time. Time to learn how the other person handles stress. Time to see how they show up when life gets hard. Not just when it's romantic and easy and fun and light, right? Time to have real conversations that aren't always comfortable but necessary. Security is built through honesty, through emotional presence, through trust that's earned, not performed. So if you've ever found yourself pushing for the next step just to feel okay, I want you to give yourself grace. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not needy, you're human. But what you deserve isn't just someone to choose you quickly. It's someone who chooses you consistently. Not because they feel pressured, not because you beg, but because they're ready emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. That kind of love doesn't need to be rushed. And when you learn to feel safe within yourself, you'll stop needing to prove anything to anyone. Because peace doesn't come from how fast someone commits. It comes from knowing you'll be okay no matter what they do. Let me tell you what the real princess treatment is. It's not about being pampered. It's not about having someone fund your lifestyle or make grand gestures just to impress you. In fact, the real truth is there is no princess treatment. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry to say this, but it's a lie. That idea, it's a label, a marketing phrase, something we've picked up from fairy tales, influencer culture, and filter highlight reels. But in real life, what people call princess treatment is just how you treat someone you actually love. Like, you show up, you listen, you create safety, not with money or milestones, but with consistency and care. The real thing, it looks like being seen. It's having your voice heard without being dismissed. It's having your boundaries respected without being questioned. It's having your growth supported even when it's inconvenient. And above all, it's compassion. Love that doesn't punish your feelings, emotions. Love that doesn't manipulate your anxiety. Love that doesn't require you to perform to be worthy. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not always Insta-worthy or TikTok-worthy, but it's real. So yes, enjoy the butterflies, enjoy the early excitement, Wear the pink glasses for a little while. Just don't let them blind you. Because real love begins the moment you take those glasses off and still choose each other with clear eyes and open hearts. That kind of love, it's not built on pressure or pace or promises made too soon. It's built on truth, and truth takes time. So if you're unlearning the fantasy, if you're choosing patience, presence, and self-worth over perfection, I see you. And I promise you're not falling behind. You're just building something real. And that's a big step. If you want to see a difference in your life, please start doing that. Drop a comment below and tell me what's one relationship expectation you're letting go of after watching this. And if you're ready to break free from the noise and create love that's rooted in clarity, healing, and emotional maturity, hit that subscribe button. You deserve a relationship that feels like truth, not a performance, not a checklist, not a fantasy, please. You deserve a real relationship. And thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. Let's keep growing together and see you soon, and let's bloom. Bye bye.